The nation's budget, scheduled to be presented this Wednesday. The opposition leader files a no-confidence motion against the Speaker of the National Assembly. 4 suspects wanted in connection with an acid attack on a West Ruimveldt woman. In the region, the Bahamas, task force given 14 days to find absentee students. And internationally, Lebanon protesters fear economic crisis has no end in sight. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, has announced that Budget Day for 2022 will be on Wednesday, January 26, 2022. Dr. Singh has expressed confidence in this year's National Fiscal Plan, labeling it historic and transformational. In making the announcement, Singh said that this budget is expected to comprise several critical developmental programs and projects which will catapult the government's agenda and take the country forward. The 2022 budget will be the third budget presented by the PPPC administration.
Budget 2022 is going to step up the pace with respect to rolling out this government's agenda for transformation. And so you're going to see a number of major initiatives being launched, I guess would be the best word, or being initiated in 2022. And so in that respect, there's a very strong, the implementation of the transformational agenda, the agenda to modernize the face of our country with respect to things like physical infrastructure. A lot of that is going to be happening in 2022. So the theme of transformation and modernization of Guyana is very deeply and heavily embedded in Budget 2022. There's going to be a lot of that. It's very transformational in that regard. Secondly, I would say that a strong element of Budget 2022 will also be about creating opportunities for both Guyanese businesses and Guyanese nationals. As you know, we recently enacted the local content legislation. That legislation sets the framework for heightened participation by Guyanese nationals and Guyanese companies in the oil and gas sector. And we enacted that legislation with the specific objective of ensuring that opportunities are created for Guyanese businesses to be able to participate in the provision of goods and services to the oil and gas sector, creation of business opportunities for Guyanese businesses, and also for Guyanese nationals, both from the standpoint of individual entrepreneurs providing goods and services, but also from the standpoint of job creation. And so creation of opportunity, both business opportunities and also employment and entrepreneurial and employment opportunities would be a very strong, there's a very strong emphasis on creating opportunities for Guyanese businesses and Guyanese nationals.
Dr. Singh said the third theme of this year's budget is improving people's lives.
The President has repeated this on multiple occasions. The fortitude of his commitment to improve the lives of all Guyanese. And so that is also there's a very strong element of, doing what it takes to improve the lives of all Guyanese, including, very importantly, equipping Guyanese nationals, Guyanese persons, our Guyanese brothers and sisters, equipping them with the skills that are needed to participate in this transformed Guyana, in this modern Guyana, making sure that every person of working age has the skills or has the opportunity to acquire the skills that are needed to participate in the modern Guyana, the Guyanese economy of today and tomorrow.
Budget 2022 will be financed partly by Guyana's oil revenues. This will be Guyana's first withdrawal from the Natural Resource Fund since the country started collecting oil revenue in early 2020. while the withdrawal rule restricts withdrawals from the fund to deposit made in the previous fiscal year. The first schedule for the Natural Resource Fund Act 2021 allows an exception in the first year, giving the government the margin to withdraw the total balance in the fund at once. The Ministry of Finance has said that such a withdrawal is pertinent to address Ghana's pressing developmental needs. The current Natural Resource Fund sits at US $607 million. Continuing our coverage of the National Assembly, on Sunday, January 23rd, Leader of the Opposition Joseph Harman submitted a motion of no confidence against the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir. In an additional motion, Harman called for sanctions for government members in the House for unparliamentary conduct. The leader stated that the motion stemmed after witnessing the action of the Speaker during the sitting of the National Assembly on December 29, 2021, where the Natural Resource Fund Bill was passed. In denouncing the action of the Speaker and the People's Progressive Party Civic, Harman stated,
"The APNU-AFC coalition wishes to remind the Speaker, the People's Progressive Party regime, and the Guyanese people generally, that the Natural Resources Fund Bill number 20 of 2021 was not properly passed. Further, we maintain that the mace, which was used in the place of the original one, was a replica. We also maintain that at the time of members casting their votes, many members of the government side were not in their seats. They were standing. The Honorable Mark Phillips, the country's Prime Minister and the head of government business in the House, was not seated when the voting took place. The video evidence will show that he was pumping his fist way above his head at the time when the vote was taken.
Harman lamented that APNU-AFC views that the Speaker of the National Assembly may not be in control of the Assembly.
The actions by numerous government members of Parliament, as caught on camera on December 29, 2021, would require any impartial Speaker to discipline also the members of the government whose behavior were deemed to be unparliamentary. That the Honorable Gail Teixeira would go to the media just days before a sitting of the National Assembly to inform the public that it is the intention of the PPP to sanction opposition members of Parliament further highlights the APNU-AFC position that the Speaker of the National Assembly is not in control of the Parliament, and that Gail Teixeira, as Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, is speaking on matters that should be in the full remit of the Speaker of the National Assembly.
Harman stated that the APNU-AFC had sent 2 motions to the Clerk of the National Assembly.
The first motion indicating our loss of confidence in Mr. Mansour Nadir as Speaker of the National Assembly. And the second motion requiring that members of the government benches of the House of the National Assembly be sanctioned for their unparliamentary conduct in the Assembly during the debate on the Natural Resources Fund Bill on the 29th day of December 2021.
4 women are wanted in connection with an acid attack on a West Ruimveldt woman last week. More from Essie Sobers.
Police are on the hunt for 4 women who threw acid on a 24-year-old woman at North and John Streets, Work in Ross on Friday, January 21st, 2022. The victim, Renisha Maxwell of West Ruimveldt, is hospitalized at the burn care unit at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. Headline News understands that the 4 female suspects, Jillian Marks, Aliyah, Melissa Validen, and Alana, followed the victim in a taxi. The woman reportedly doused Maxwell with acid when the cab came to a stop. Headline News was informed that the incident stemmed from a row over a Facebook post made by one of the suspects. The horrific act was captured on CCTV cameras, which police are reviewing. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Stick around after the break. Significant quantity of marijuana uncovered amid a police raid in the Stabroek Market, and East Ruimveldt man detained for illegally possessing a firearm.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop price smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Taxi service, transportation for every occasion, short drop, airport, weddings, funerals, and much more. We're located at Lot H. Durbin and Vicingen Road, next to Green City Bar. For honest, efficient, and reliable service, call Kingdom Based Taxi Service at 648-5959 or 227-7937. You can count on us.
Welcome back. During a police operation in the Stabroek Market area, a significant quantity of marijuana was uncovered. Esther Sobers has more.
In a continuous effort to combat illegal drugs from the streets, ranks from the Police Special Branch, Impact Patrol, and CID Breakdown Police Station on Friday last carried out a raid at the Stabroek Market area where several people and stalls were searched. During the exercise, several Ziploc bags containing suspected cannabis sativa leaves, seeds, and stems were discovered abandoned in 2 black plastic bags, totaling 478 grams when weighed. The police also stopped and searched a 20-year-old man, and 23 Ziploc plastic bags containing leaves, seeds, and stems suspected to be cannabis sativa were found in his pocket. He was told of the offense committed, cautioned, arrested, and taken to the Breakdown Police Station, where the suspected narcotics were weighed and amounted to 31 grams. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. An East Ruimveldt man was detained for the illegal possession of a firearm. Dale Jarvis files this report.
A group of officers from the East Ruimveldt Police Outpost went to a property in Guinea Plain, East Ruimveldt to search the residence of a 50-year-old male as a part of their ongoing efforts to remove illegal firearms from the streets. During the search, police found one .38 Taurus revolver in a hammock inside the house. The firearm contained 5 .38 rounds of ammunition inside the chamber. The search was carried out in the presence of the suspect. When questioned if he had a permit to carry a firearm, the suspect stated that he did not. As such, he was told of the offenses committed, cautioned, arrested, and taken to the East Repentance Police Station. The firearm and ammunition have been lodged and the suspect remains in custody pending further investigations. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jervis.
Thanks, Dale. Don't go away after the break. Brazil. Uncontacted tribe members targeted while patrolling for invaders, and as costs mount, how long can China stick with zero COVID? But before that, here's a bridge retraction schedule.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 4-6 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Hurry down to Zasco on 15 North Road between Camp and Wellington Streets. Quality products at low cost for every room in your home. 65 and 55 inches high-stand 4K smart TVs. Samsung French door fridges. Black & Decker appliances, queen and king size Canadian-made mattresses. German-made pressure pots in 5 to 9 liters. 12-piece pot sets, knife sets, cutlery sets and pans, commercial fans. Samsung smart stoves. Canadian-made 3-piece recliner sofa sets. Air fryers and Hamilton Beach hot and cold water dispenser.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Ruimveldt or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. Here now is Esther Sobers with the regional and international news.
Thanks, Bibi. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. Our school reopens in Bahamas today using a hybrid face-to-face learning environment. The Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training has formed a committee to locate thousands of students who have not attended classes for nearly 2 years. Minister Glenys Hannah Martin established a task force in a national address last evening, and it has been granted 14 days to find the missing kids. She claimed that the Bahamas was in an educational emergency because of missing students who range from preschool to grade 12.
The last 2 years have been unrelenting disruptions in education. The fully virtual learning experience has proven to be difficult for student, teacher, and parent alike for a variety of reasons. And this has been especially so for children with special needs and children from lower economic communities. We also know that thousands of children have fully fallen off the radar, having been absent from school for 2 years. These children span the range of preschool to grade 12. Where are these children now? Every day that our children remain out of school does further damage. The time to return to in-person learning is now. We are not living in ideal times, but we must do the best we can.
In addition, all pupils will be subjected to diagnostic testing to establish the level of their learning loss. Hannah Martin announced the formation of a Learning Recovery Committee to make recommendations and develop strategies for appropriate responses and learning recovery programs based on the level of each child's learning loss. In South America, the Javari Reserve in Brazil, Amazon, is home to numerous tribes who have never had contact with the outside world. But illegal hunters and fishermen are encroaching on their space. Native trackers patrol the rainforest to keep the tribes safe from threats. But as Al Jazeera Monica Yannicki reports, they have also become targets.
Deep in the Amazon jungle, various indigenous leaders have joined forces to protect their livelihood. We accompanied native trackers during a week as they police the Javari Valley Reserve, an area twice the size of Japan. It's the home of 18 tribes. 11 of them have had no contact with the outside world.
This part of the river belongs to Brazil, where white men do as they please. But ahead of us is the indigenous Javari territory. It's forbidden to all but us, yet we're still in danger.
In the past, the threat came from oil companies and loggers. The government forced them out 2 decades ago when the Javari Reserve was demarcated. Joel Sampaio, who used to make a living cutting down trees in the area, is now helping the indigenous tribes face a new enemy, the increasing number of poachers and fishermen who have been sneaking into these remote lands to steal their food. They've been illegally capturing endangered and expensive species like the pirarucu fish and turtles to export them at high prices to neighboring Colombia and Peru.
Outsiders are depleting this protected forest of game. The local indigenous tribes hunt and fish just enough to survive. The illegal fishermen catch as much as they can to sell abroad and make money. They have already had shootouts with government authorities who tried to stop them.
The patrolmen are few in number, but have been armed by NGOs with technology, satellite maps, cellular apps, and a radio to communicate with villages inside the Javari Valley. We've been patrolling the Itaquai River for 2 days now, and the Marubu indigenous people have been showing us how poachers and fishermen enter their lands illegally. They find these small canals, as you can see here behind me, and they ride these wooden canoes, which are very small and very hard to find, especially at night. We followed the intruders' tracks into the jungle. Our guide shows us how they cleared a path to carry canoes to small rivers further down, which will take them deep into the forbidden territory. It's a daily 10-kilometer hike through uncharted lands, with an occasional stop to hunt for food. On the way, they find new clues, like this empty salt bag.
The salt is used to preserve the fish until they're taken to the market.
The fish are taken to Tabatinga, 5 hours down the river. In the marketplace, smugglers also sell illegally hunted alligators and turtles. But the real business is booming just across the border in the Colombian city of Leticia. All the fish here comes from Brazil. On a good month, this fishery sells 70 tons. The most precious species is the pirarucu, one of the largest freshwater fishes in the world. Matias Pereira tells us he caught almost 150 last week.
I sell them in Colombia because the price here is better than Brazil.
He claims all the pirarucu here are certified and have come from designated management ponds in the Amazon, like this one. But the Colombian Navy, patrolling the Solimões River, says most fish are illegally caught and smuggled. Indigenous leader Beto Marubu says illegal fishermen work for international drug cartels as part of a money laundering scheme.
Every little canoe can carry the equivalent of $8,000 worth of fish and turtles, and there are many canoes working for one master. We set up our own patrols to prove to the government what's going on, and nobody sees.
He says that unless drastic measures are taken, many more endangered species will continue to be smuggled out of the indigenous territory, threatening nature and the livelihood of the tribes. Monica Yanakiev, Al Jazeera, Javari Valley.
Internationally, protesters from Lebanon are back on the streets as the country grapples with economic collapse. Many are angry with the government's recovery plan, which they say is short of much-needed reforms.
Denied their money and their savings, these people say they are faced with no choice but to keep protesting. It's been 2 years since Lebanon's banks insisted money could only be withdrawn in the local currency, the lira. It is at a much lower rate than the market, which means they lose 70% of its value. It's a process now known as lirification.
Changing the deposits into lira, it will take us to a hyperinflation. This is very bad to the Lebanese economy.
The financial system collapsed in late 2019. Successive governments had piled up debt for years before money stopped coming in.
The banking system, the central bank, and the Lebanese state were literally in bed together. As a result, this excessive consumerist economic model was financed through deposits, through the deposits from the wealthy diaspora community, which the banks then used to lend to the central bank.
Now the state is nearly bankrupt and banks are insolvent. Authorities have not agreed on the way out of the crisis, but they acknowledge lirification is possible, but at the rate that dominates trading.
Larification is one of the things that it is mentioned from now and then, makes it very difficult in order to say exactly when they will take back the deposit. As far as I know, Prime Minister Miati is doing his best in order the small and the middle depositors to receive back their deposits.
Many are skeptical.
Protests like this one have not brought change. The state is still controlled by the same political class blamed for the financial collapse. And those who hold the power and the individuals linked to them are the majority of shareholders in banks.
Depositors say it is they who have been bearing the losses in the financial sector. Officials estimate amount to $69 billion.
We're seeing also increased taxes on people. Meanwhile, the majority of the people get paid in Lebanese lira, which has lost around 95% of its value.
Politicians should be presenting an economic recovery plan to the International Monetary Fund to receive assistance. But that would require reforms that weaken their hold on the state's resources. Instead, they prepared a state budget that appears to put additional burdens on the people while protecting their own financial interests. Zana Khuder, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
And finally, on January 23, 2020, China gave birth to zero COVID. Facing the threat of a mysterious virus, authorities in Wuhan imposed the world's first lockdown on its 11 million residents, marking the beginning of a zero-tolerance policy that would define China's pandemic response. 2 years later, the lightning spread of the Omicron coronavirus variant and rising costs of keeping it under control are raising questions about the sustainability of China's approach. Al Jazeera Katrina Yu reports.
Wuhan's sports center has reopened for winter activities. But 2 years ago, the city's stadium was used for a very different purpose. It became a makeshift hospital for thousands who had fallen ill with the coronavirus.
The sports center set up 1,100 beds in 72 hours and admitted 1,056 mild COVID-19 cases in total. We managed to achieve zero staff infection, zero secondary infections, and zero death.
On January 23, 2020, city authorities took the then unprecedented step of locking down its 11 million residents. Human-to-human transmission of the virus had just been confirmed, and more than a dozen people had died. From here, the virus would go on to infect hundreds of millions around the world. Today, Wuhan has resumed normal life, and officials say coronavirus infections in the city have been eliminated. The seafood and animal market where the outbreak was first identified is closed, though the pandemic's origin remains a mystery. An inquiry by the World Health Organization concluded that the possible leaking of the virus from a Wuhan lab was extremely unlikely, though many scientists are calling for further investigation.
The starting point of an international process can't be compromising with the Chinese government or appeasing its sensitivities. It has to be establishing a gold standard for what a full an unrestricted international investigation would entail.
The Chinese government has dismissed the theory and turned its attention to keeping coronavirus case numbers to zero. But this has been a struggle. The provinces of Henan, Shanxi, Guangdong and Tianjin City are battling outbreaks of both the Omicron and Delta variants. Millions of people have for weeks been confined to their homes. Beijing has reported more than 10 COVID-19 cases this past week. Authorities have again pointed to imported goods, international deliveries and frozen food as a likely source of infection. Those living in the capital have been warned to limit deliveries from overseas, though many experts are skeptical that packages can transmit the virus. People have also been warned against traveling during the upcoming Lunar New Year festival, the most important public holiday of the year. Officials here are under intense pressure to control the outbreak before the Winter Olympics opens on February the 4th. Those taking part in the Games will be confined to a strict venue bubble, designed to be sealed off to protect the rest of China's population. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Thanks, Esther. And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.